Adelaide's 7 News Early Edition with Elspeth Hussey starts now.
Hello and welcome to the 7 News Early Edition. Almost 20 years after being named Crown Princess, Australian-born Mary Donaldson has become the Queen of Denmark overnight. 150,000 well-wishers packed the grounds of Copenhagen's Christiansborg Castle to witness the new King and Queen. Not just a moment in history for Denmark, but Australia too.
A new Danish reign sealed with a kiss. And a glimpse into the future. Streets lined by a sea of red flags ready to witness history. Queen Margrethe II leaving Christiansborg Palace flanked by royal guards, preparing for the final act of her reign. A dignified handover fit for the 83-year-old monarch, the longest reigning in Europe. The Danish Queen, the first to sign the Declaration of Abdication in over 900 years. The stroke of a pen ending her 5-decade reign and ushering in a new era. Her son becoming King Frederik X. Meanwhile, outside, crowds braved the cold to catch the first glimpse of the new monarch. On the hour, the doors of the Christiansborg Palace balcony swung open, a cheer erupting from the crowd as out stepped their new king. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen giving the proclamation, welcomed by the Danish people with open arms. Hurrah! Hurrah! Before King Frederik addressed his people for the first time and revealing the new royal motto, united, committed for the Kingdom of Denmark, and then joined by his queen, our Mary. The Aussie-born royal wearing a white dress adorned with the Royal Order of Queen Margrethe. The royal couple joined by the new Crown Prince before sealing their accession with a kiss, sending the already excited crowd into a frenzy. The King and Queen all smiled as they travelled back home to the Amalienborg Palace, waving to well-wishers, hundreds of thousands lining the streets, some taking to rooftops to be a part of history. So a spectacular day across Copenhagen, capped off this evening by the biggest ever fireworks display over the Danish capital from the Tivoli Gardens. A great way to end what has been a big day for this country and also for this family. Frederik, Mary and their 4 teenage children spending the night back here at Amalienborg Palace. Life's going to change for all of them in the days, weeks and years ahead.
Well, to some breaking news back home now, and a man who bashed his travelling companion to death on the state's west coast has just been jailed for 13 years. 45-year-old Anna Bennett viciously assaulted 64-year-old Peter Hillier behind an art gallery at Puchera before driving his body 70 kilometres to Venus Bay. The sentencing judge described it as a senseless, savage beating of an older, weaker man. Bennett will be eligible for parole in 10 years. Members of Mr Hillier's family cried as the sentence was handed down. It was a rude awakening for a Huntfield Heights family after 3 cars were targeted by arsonists. As Mitchell Sariovsky reports, one of the vehicles was for sale.
Residents heard loud explosions here on Fuchsia Street and rushed outside to investigate. The 3 cars owned by the same family were set alight just before 6 o'clock this morning. The owners grabbed a fire extinguisher and quickly put out the blaze moments before MFS crews arrived.
It was just orange, and I thought, oh, what's going on? Ran back inside, said, call the fire department. I mean, I put this one out, my daughter's out, that one out, and then was trying to get the petrol can that I kicked out into the middle of the street.
The arsons leaving behind jerry cans on the Huntfield Heights street. Crime scene investigators were at the scene dusting for fingerprints and collecting any evidence.
The fire department reckons when it went, it probably flashed and someone's running around with either burnt skin, hands, or possibly no eyebrows. So
Paul says he has no doubt this is a targeted attack after rejecting a number of offers on one of the cars he's listed online for sale.
Police are investigating a nasty car rollover at Golden Grove. Paramedics were forced to start treating the trapped driver inside the vehicle as firefighters worked to free her. The crash happened at the intersection of John Road and Golden Grove Road around 11:30 last night. The 28-year-old driver was taken to the Royal Adelaide with non-life-threatening injuries. And police are appealing for witnesses after a pedestrian was hit by a bus in the city last night. It happened on Hutt Road in the South Parklands just after 7 o'clock. The Smithfield Plains man is now in a stable condition at the RAH. The bus driver wasn't injured. A man will face court today charged with raping a woman on a southern suburbs train. The attack happened on Thursday afternoon as the train travelled between Christie Downs and Parkholme. The suspect, a 21-year-old man from Aldinga Beach, is now in custody. Foreign Minister Penny Wong has departed for Israel as Middle East tensions reach new heights. While she says Australia isn't a central player in the region, she hopes to advocate for a pathway out of the conflict. Ashley Mullaney reports.
Penny Wong's visit to Israel will be the first by an Australian foreign minister since 2016 and comes at a time of rising tension in the Middle East. Senator Wong departed Adelaide this morning, first stop Jordan for high-level meetings, then Israel. She'll be meeting with her Israeli counterparts and survivors of the October 7 Hamas attack, although it's understood she will not be visiting the border towns where the atrocities were carried out. She will also be visiting Palestinians in the West Bank, and as war continues in Gaza, she says this trip will be about advocating for a pathway out of the conflict.
I will be focusing on advocating Australia's position, our priority on international humanitarian assistance, our priority on international humanitarian law.
Senator Wong's visit comes as Israel marks 100 days since the Hamas attacks. Israel pleading for Australian and international support to get more than 100 hostages still being held captive safely home. The challenge for the West containing this conflict. The UK saying today it is not ruling out further joint strikes with the US on Yemen's Houthis that have continued to strike ships in the Red Sea.
Despite growing community concerns about Australia Day, new polling shows most Aussies still want to celebrate on January 26. The federal opposition says the result should put to bed any debate about the National Day. Rob Scott has more.
More than 1,000 people were surveyed by the Institute of Public Affairs, and the poll results show less than 1 in 5 Australians want to change the date of our National Day. The majority, 63%, want to keep Australia Day on January 26. The only group it was controversial among was 18 to 24-year-olds, with just 42% approving of the date. The greatest support came from those over 55, with 71% saying the date should stay the same. Now, those results come after Peter Dutton was accused of stoking a culture war when he called for a boycott of Woolworths stores for their decision to axe Australia Day merchandise. Early this morning, that was taken to the extreme, with a Woolies store in Brisbane targeted, with reports a flare was set off inside and pro-Australia Day graffiti sprayed on the walls. While not condoning those actions, the opposition says the results of the poll should put an end to any debate around the public holiday.
What it does is put to bed any sort of conjecture that we shouldn't just celebrate and be proud of our National Day.
Controversy around the date kicked up a notch earlier this month when it was revealed more than 80 local councils across the country had chosen to dump their traditional Australia Day citizenship ceremonies. Despite that, the government says it has no plans to change the date.
Day 2 of the Australian Open has begun and the competition schedule's already under fire after the women's first round match began after 11 p.m. That's despite the tournament adding an extra day to avoid those late night finishes. Kate Massey's there.
Well, it's day 2 of the Australian Open. Already so many fans are through the doors after a late finish on day 1 last night. Scheduling coming under fire again as Aryna Sabalenka was forced to wait until around midnight to start her match. Changes came into effect this year to try and limit the late night finishes, including starting the competition a day earlier. The Australian Open now running for 15 days instead of 14. Day sessions at Rod Laver Arena now just 2 matches instead of 3 and 2 again at night. tonight. The late start was sparked by Novak Djokovic needing 4 hours to defeat his 18-year-old opponent. And although Sabalenka started late, she didn't need long to finish the job, racking up in 53 minutes. Today, international DJ Redfoo has taken to the court, trying his hand at table tennis, conceding he needs a lot of work to become a pro.
I would need to work on my forehand and get into the hips, to get to the elite. And then the elite's got the spins. They got the spins, and so I need to work on that. But that's why we're here today, and I'm practicing.
Plenty of action down here today, including Alex de Minaur taking on his opponent tonight, Australian favourite. We will bring you those details across the day.
A young boy has spent the night in jail following an arson attack on a shop in Adelaide's northwest. That story's after the break. Also, wild weather threatened voter turnout in the US as the Republicans begin choosing an election candidate. And residents of an Icelandic town flee again as volcano spews lava. A teenager is behind bars after an arson attack at Kilkenny early this morning. The fire in a former shop on Wilpena Terrace was spotted around 3:40 a.m. It was quickly put out, with police arresting a 16-year-old boy. They're investigating whether the blaze is linked to 2 grass fires lit earlier in the night at Woodville Park. A community in Melbourne is in mourning after a young doctor was killed in a violent home invasion. 33-year-old Ashley Gordon was stabbed and rammed with a car after trying to track down thieves from his property. It's understood he gave chase before the group allegedly fatally attacked him less than a kilometre from his home. Opinion polls have Donald Trump in a commanding lead a day out from the Iowa caucus, where Republicans will choose a presidential hopeful. An Arctic blast is threatening voter turnout, though, with weather warnings for a below-freezing winter chill. Miley Hogan reports.
As candidates try to convince the people of Iowa to vote for them, they're struggling to steal the attention away from one big competitor, the weather. The state is suffering through an Arctic blast. Tomorrow's caucus day is set to be the coldest on record. The forecast, a predicted low of minus 29 degrees Celsius, with the wind chill minus 42. The weather has forced candidates to cancel events, but they're all back out there for a final push today. Donald Trump in a commanding lead.
Brave the weather and go out and save America, because that's what you're doing. This is really about saving our country.
His closest rivals battling to emerge as the top alternative to the former president.
Just excited that tomorrow's the day. It's go time.
We're going to do well because we've done it right, and our folks are going to turn out.
So the big question is, will the weather affect the turnout and the expected results?
We're just kind of used to this kind of weather, and I think the election's going to have a pretty decent turnout no matter what.
This is the current state of play. The former president in a likely unbeatable position, his closest rivals battling for second place. If the polls are correct, then Donald Trump is on track to smash the Republican record for the largest victory margin in the history of the Iowa caucuses.
The military wing of Hamas has released footage said to show rockets being launched from Gaza towards Israel. The banner on the rockets said 100 days of battle, Ashdod under fire, and we have more. The Israeli army reports that around 9,000 rockets have entered the country from Gaza since October 7. Footage has emerged of the moment fountains of molten lava moved in on a town in Iceland's southwest. Buildings caught fire after the volcanic eruption on Sunday, with residents of Grindavik forced to evacuate just hours before the seismic activity for the second time since November. Iceland's president has announced that while infrastructure may be under threat, no lives are in danger. Well, still to come on 7 News, Tom Wilson will join us with sport as the Strikers ride a 4-game winning streak all the way to the BBL finals. And a Crows fan favourite recommits to the club until the end of the 2026 season.
He's triumphed with the Aussies across the world and stars for our strikers. Now, Adelaide's Alex Carey reports to you on 7 News.
I'll take you inside the summer of cricket on 7 News.
Alex Carey takes the catch. Inside the Big Bash, inside the tests, Alex Carey, exclusive to 7 News.
A boost for the Crows with defender Mitch Hinge re-signing for another 2 years. It'll keep the 25-year-old at the club until at least the end of the 2026 season. He's won the hearts of Crows fans with his courageous play since arriving from the Lions ahead of the 2021 season. We'll hear from Hinge in our main bulletin at 6. Well, Steve Smith hopes his move to opener unlocks the next great star of Australian cricket, Cameron Green. Now 34, Smith wants the 24-year-old Green to become Australia's long-term number 4, with his pace bowling and gully fielding worth an extra man.
The catches he takes in there are incredible as well, so we're excited to have him back. It's like having 4 slips. It's a good opportunity for him, and that was part of my reason for wanting to go up the order. It wasn't selfishly just because I wanted to, it was to get Greenie in to bat at 4.
We'll hear from Green today before the first test starts against the West Indies at Adelaide Oval on Wednesday. With a 4th straight win, the Adelaide Strikers clinched the last Big Bash final spot. David Warner went for 13 in Canberra last night before Lloyd Pope spun out the Sydney Thunder with 3 wickets in 4 balls. Chasing 140, the Strikers got some luck with a heavy battery-filled bail.
Sydney Thunder think they have. It's in the bail.
Leading run scorer Matt Short smashed an unbeaten 74, and replacing Chris Lynn, Jake Weatherald stepped up again with 47 not out in a 9-wicket thrashing.
We're on a roll now. I think it's 4 or 5 in a row. We're certainly in form, but we lose a couple of players, but there's guys in the sheds that have been waiting, and we know that guys that come in like Popey and Weathers, they've come straight in and done a really good job.
The Strikers will face the Scorchers or Sixers in the knockout. And Novak Djokovic survived the longest first-round match of his Grand Slam career at the Australian Open. He won the first set 6-2 against Dino Prismic before the relentless 18-year-old Croatian fought back to win the second set 7-5.
He's got the error and he's got the set. We've got a match on our hands.
The 10-time Australian Open champ avoided a major upset, winning the final 2 sets, but it took him 4 hours. The Joker blamed illness.
I am a bit under the weather the last 4 or 5 days. You can probably judge by my voice. Maybe skip practice tomorrow, tennis practice, and maybe do some light work, gym, jog.
The marathon forced defending women's champion Arina Sabalenka to wait almost till midnight. She dispatched Germany's Ella Seidel 6-love, 6-1. Sydney's Chris O'Connell won a 5-set thriller against Christian Garin, 7-5 in the decider, but Brisbane's Jason Kubler lost his 5th set 10-8 to Colombian Daniel Galan. A lot of long matches there. Just want to say a brilliant effort from the Strikers to make it to the finals. Halfway through the season, they were dead last. So now they're the form team of the comp.
Isn't that incredible? What a turnaround. Good on them. Hopefully
exciting stuff.
Yeah, beauty. Thank you, Tom. Well, it's been a warm day so far across Adelaide and it's only set to heat up more. I'll have your latest weather for you. That's coming up after the break.
The revolutionary prostate cancer surgery, changing the lives of thousands of Australian men. A special health report, only on 7 News at 6.
Well, it's no secret Australians love cruising, and this year looks to be even bigger for the industry. A new survey by the Travel and Tourism Forum found 1 in 4 Australians is planning a cruise this year, a huge jump compared to last year. 35% of under 35s are also thinking about setting sail, countering the myth that cruises are for older people. It also reveals that over 1 in 4 Aussies are cruise curious, meaning they've never been cruising but are interested in trying it. Well, let's take a look at the weather now for your Monday, and we are expected to reach a top of 34 in the city today. Around the rest of the state, reaching 41 in Maree, 38 in Port Pirie, 36 in Renmark, 34 in Nuriutpa, 32 in Naracoorte and 28 over on KI. A severe heatwave warning is in place for the Northwest Pastoral District too. Around the rest of the country, showers and 24 in Sydney, partly cloudy and 28 in Melbourne, showers developing in 30 in Brisbane and mostly sunny in 34 over in Perth. Back home now, partly cloudy and 34 tomorrow, then it drops a bit. 27 and sunny Wednesday, partly cloudy and 26 Thursday, 29 Friday, sunny and 34 Saturday and 31 on Sunday. And that's all from 7 Adelaide's Early Edition team. Thanks for your company. Will and Rosanna are back on deck tonight with all the day's top stories for you at 6 o'clock. Bye for now.